Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well, and today I wanted to talk about this because this was shared with me earlier on Twitter, the trailer for this new series, and to say I have some thoughts on it would be an understatement because as you can see up here, it says Disney is turning the original Star Wars movies into animated shorts for children. Catnip for the youngest Star Wars converts. Yeah, so basically what I'm seeing from this is that Disney is once again realizing, oh, the original trilogy has much better content. Let's try and make some money off of it. And now they're turning it into an animated series. And not only that, but also look at this animation. That doesn't look like Luke Skywalker or Leia or even Chewbacca, let alone Han Solo. So not only are they using some really bad animation, the animation is also not accurate. And also, why are they doing this? Again, the whole concept is to bring newer or younger fans into the Star Wars universe, and I guess this is a kind of a cool way to bring in, or at least had the potential at the very least to be a cool way to bring younger fans into the universe. However, those routes already exist. That's why we have things like Clone Wars, which again is a family show. People of all ages could like it. That's why you even had Rebels. Rebels was a lot more kid-friendly, at least in the very beginning. Eventually, from what I've heard, it goes into a little bit more deeper storylines that might go over the kids' head. But I feel like as an animation, nonetheless, it's enough to at least keep kids' attention. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of torn because I'm glad that they're trying to reveal, because based on the trailer, what you see this new really crappy animation, but it has the original voices. So I don't know if that's how the actual show is going to be, where it's going to be apparently the first 6 episodes or what's been planned so far. So I don't know if the original plan is to try and have this new animation of classic scenes, but keeping the classic voiceovers from Harrison Ford and all these other characters. Because if that's the case, then I think, obviously it has some potential to be at least okay. But also at the same time, it makes you wonder, are they going to try and do voices? Are they trying to keep that away from the original Star Wars fans because they don't want people to realize, oh, we're trying to retell a story and we're trying to do something that is actually not how things were done in the beginning? I don't know. It really is hard to tell at this point. But what I do know is that anything that Disney touches that has Star Wars on the title, I'm always going to take with a giant grain of salt, and I'm always going to be very wary about. Because as we've seen with Star Wars Resistance, it is a completely ridiculous concept and show, and also has some really bad animation. I know that Anna, that Star Wars girl, has been doing a lot of coverage of that show, has painstakingly been watching the entire series. I know that Ivan Ortega has also watched a couple episodes as well, and also has his own thoughts on the series too. But to me, this is just another attempt, once again, to try and throw some bones over at the original Star Wars fans and try and say, look, you see, we still love the original trilogy, guys, and look, we're going to try and revamp it so that way your kids can enjoy it too. Here's the thing, though. A lot of kids who enjoy Star Wars already enjoy the original trilogy. So I don't know what age group this is going to be geared towards, because I know of parents showing their kids the original trilogy and their kids loving it as young as 5, 6, 7 years old. So if they're trying to get into a market that they feel is untapped, I don't really think they understand really where the current Star Wars fan base is with that. Because if someone's a Star Wars fan and they have a kid who's reached the age where they can watch movies and enjoy them, they're already showing their kids the original trilogy, and many of them are liking it because there are a lot of things to like about the original trilogy. There's a lot of things to like about Star Wars. There's that mindset saying Star Wars has always been for kids. Well, no, it's I feel like it's been for families. Again, I feel like there's something there for every age group, including younger kids. So with this, I'm kind of hesitant because it's like, what is your purpose? Are you just trying to have a cash grab here? Are you honestly trying to reach out to younger audiences? And if so, why are you choosing some really bad animation and some questionable tactics as far as bringing in like original scenes with original voices, but putting I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this, guys. This is one of the few times where it's like I'm not really pulled one way or the other. I mean, it says it's going to run from 10 to 20 minutes, and it's going to be, let's see, this new series looks to be calibrated just right for the attention span for the 3 to 5-year-old demographic. So, I mean, I guess if they're going for that, maybe this will appeal to the 3 to 5-year-old demographic. I don't know. I'm not 3. I'm not 5, so I wouldn't be able to know if this would appeal to me. But all I can say is just as a fan, as a movie fan, as a Star Wars fan, I look at this and I say, okay, Darth Vader looks like Darth Vader. Awesome. Chewbacca, I don't know what that is. And none of the other characters really look like the other characters. So I don't know. I don't know, but Galaxies of Adventure, Star Wars Kids, a YouTube channel. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this, but what I did see as I was going through, I was like kind of like throwing and going through all of this. So we have a little bit of a description here, but then we also have a little bit of commentary from The Verge, which I think is fantastic. But anyway, James Wild, Lucasfilm's vice president for franchise content and strategy, tells StarWars.com that the initiative is designed to be a kid-friendly introduction to the franchise. But again, I feel like those have already been in place. I feel like you've already had those shows that were geared more towards kids, or at least could be seen to be geared more towards kids in the animated shows that came out with. Obviously, I think Clone Wars is a lot more than that, because Clone Wars gets very deep, it gets very dark, getting too dark for Disney, which is why they canceled it originally. But I don't really understand the purpose behind this. Over the years, I've had so many of my friends who are parents tell me how much they wanted to introduce their kids to Star Wars, but didn't feel their kids were quite ready for the movies yet. He says, as the trailer for the series demonstrates, that episodes will repurpose some of the dialogue and scenes from the original movies, utilizing an animation style filled with wild, exaggerated motion and action to better entice younger viewers. Wow. Also notes that the bite-sized shorts will really drill into moments to tell simple stories unencumbered by the needs of traditional narrative structure. So, okay, now it seems to be making a little bit more sense to me. So this is not to replace the original trilogy. This is meant to be for that young age that might just be too young for any movie whatsoever, not just Star Wars, but any movie. And so this is to get them introduced to it, to love the character, so that way when they do eventually watch the movie, which I hope is part of this plan and part of this structure, then they will at least understand it maybe a bit more and be able to find more joy in it. If that's the case, then I think that there might be something good here. But at the same time, I just think it's really bad animation. So it's one of those things where, yeah, they're trying to reach out. They're trying to, again, utilize the original content. How often has Disney had to rely on original content? Or on the original trilogy? How often have we seen that the big part of their marketing and what they've been trying to push for has been that, and say, oh, look, we have Luke Skywalker. Oh, look, we have Han Solo. But then when they've actually put it out, when they've actually put the product out there, they've just crapped all over the original trilogy and crapped all over the original fan base. I mean, that's where I'm very hesitant with this, because, yeah, they might be repurposing rather some of the original dialogue and some of the original cuts and everything, and some of the original scenes, and just trying to put it into bite-sized form with wild animation that might be entertaining to kids, which again I think could be a good thing. And if they're doing it on YouTube Kids, it sounds like it would be free, so that sounds again like a cool way to bring newer, younger, even younger than what should normally be watching a film or could watch a film into the Star Wars universe. But I feel like, just as always, there are better ways that this could have been done, and I really wish that someone else was involved with the project. But here is the one that I saw that I just was like, oh boy, I gotta get it. I gotta get this paragraph in here. While some segments of the Star Wars fan base have grown increasingly resistant to projects that take the franchise in new or different directions, no, we've been resistant to the project, to Star Wars being taken in crappy directions. So I think anyone would be or should be resistant to crappy directions of any franchise. One needs to keep in mind that not all of these offerings are designed to appeal to the aging fans who saw the original Star Wars 30 times in theaters. Well, as someone who is not one of the people that saw it originally in theaters, because that was 11 years before I was even born, I can tell you that, yeah, Verge, not a good idea, once again, to go after the fans. At the end of the day, Star Wars is a family product, meaning that you can make the product that can appeal to multiple ages. So for you to try and say, oh, these people need to understand, these aging people who are, seeing it 30 times in theaters, they just need to grow up and understand that everything's meant for them. Well, here's the thing, is that Lucasfilm has always been, and George Lucas has always pretty much made movies that are geared towards everybody. The original trilogy is something that can be watched by young audiences, middle-aged audiences, and old alike. The prequels even. Yeah, you could say that it's more kiddie in some ways, but it's also a little bit more dark and deep too. I mean, you have Anakin Skywalker who kills children. I mean, that's definitely not kid-friendly, you would say. That'd be not Disney kid-friendly at the very least. So it seems to me where they say things like that, but then they just ignore the fact that the way that Star Wars has been for a long time, and this even goes to Clone Wars before it was canceled by Disney, that was a show that, again, could have been enjoyed by younger audiences, 3 to 5, even older than that, but also could be enjoyed by adults too, because there was a content in there. It was still Star Wars content that was being told in a compelling way. Just because you have kids involved doesn't mean you have to dumb down the material. Yeah, you might have to change certain things. You may have to you might have to change certain dialogue. You might have to change certain words in the dialogue. But to say that you're just going to dumb down everything because there's kids involved, I just think is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, the 1997 special editions introduced an entirely new generation to the franchise. Oh, yeah, let's talk about those. Yeah, let's talk about those special editions. That's the reason why so many true Star Wars fans have gone out of their way to get the despecialized editions, because they were so bad. Yeah. While the prequel trilogy and subsequent animated shows like Rebels have also acted as new entry points. And even with Rebels, though, Rebels was more kid-friendly, and then soon after the first season, they realized, oh, we're making a bad show because we're focusing so much on dumbing it down. Let's try and dive into some deeper stories. And then from what I've been told, they did, and the show got better to the point where people said, oh, we really like the show now. It's not the best. It's not as good as Clone Wars was, but you know what? At least it's trending in a better direction. So you're talking about points that, once again, are meant for all audiences. This also isn't the first time that Disney has created animated shorts targeted at children. It released the Forces of Destiny series last year as a part of a larger initiative to focus on the franchise's female characters. Yep. And there's where we get back to the whole reasoning behind all of this, because you know that what they're going to do is, even in this repurposing of the original trilogy, they're going to cut it in a certain way that is not how the original trilogy was. They're going to try and push a narrative, because that is what that's what Disney Star Wars does, is let's take something really cool, let's take something really awesome, and let's put a political agenda behind it, and then let's put it out into the audience and see what happens. I think that's problematic. I think anyone in the right mind would say, yeah, you shouldn't be using a Star Wars show, let alone a Star Wars show geared towards children, to try and push an agenda. That should be not what Star Wars is, let alone what Disney Star Wars for kids should be either. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that this could be good? Again, I think that there's some potential here. Again, especially if it's really short, like if they were really trying to get those nitbits, like those small pieces out there to try and get kids interested, you wouldn't make an entire show. You would make maybe 5-minute clips or less. Keep in mind, they're talking about kids who have very short attention spans. Even like 10 to 20 minutes might be a little too much for them, depending on what you're doing. And also, do you really need to sacrifice, and let me know your thoughts on this, do you think they need to sacrifice good quality? Because again, this is really crappy looking animation, with the point where it doesn't even look like some of the characters. Do you think that they really need to sacrifice that quality to try and reach, again, it seems like they're trying to go to that lowest common denominator instead of actually trying to reach out and tell these awesome stories, because the original trilogy is filled with awesome stories and awesome characters and awesome character arcs, and that's the reason why so many parents show the original trilogy to their kids, and their kids love it. But I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.